So, how does a band born from the raw, anti-mainstream world of hardcore punk end up winning a Grammy? How do they go from sweaty basement shows to collaborating with pop artists? This is a story of Turnstile, a band whose meteoric rise has created a rift right through their fan base. By embracing a new genre-bending sound, have they lost the very thing that made them special in the first place? Let's be real. Turnstile is the band everyone's talking about right now. They're the band that exploded out of the Baltimore underground to play late night TV and headline festivals all over the world. They came from the raw, aggressive world of hardcore punk, a community built on DIY ethics and a wall of noise. But with their latest album, Never Enough, a question is echoing through the scene. Has Turnstile lost the very edge that made them who they are? With synths, cello, and 80s pop hooks, their sound has definitely changed. So today, we're going to break down that journey from sweaty basement shows to the Grammy stage to answer that one central question. And while we can't forget, a review of their Grammy award-winning album, Never Enough. To really get Turnstile, you have to get where they came from. Formed in 2010, the band was a key part of the vibrant Baltimore hardcore scene that gave us bands like Trapped Under Ice. Their first EPs, Pressure to Succeed and Step to Rhythm, and their debut full-length, Non-Stop Feeling were pure, uncut hardcore. This was music made for the mosh pit. Fast, aggressive, and it packed a punch. It was for the kids on the outside, a sound that was deliberately abrasive and not all that friendly to the mainstream. But they built a solid identity, a high-energy hardcore band whose shows were about communal fun. This was their foundation. This was their edge. But even from the jump, Turnstile signaled they weren't just going to be another hardcore band. The first real signs of change came in 2018 with the album Time and Space. On this record, the band really started to stretch their legs. You can hear it on tracks like Generator, where they started weaving in more melodic stuff into their hardcore sound. It was a clear sign that they were interested in pushing past their old boundaries. They were still a hardcore band, no doubt, but Time and Space was a catalyst. It was the moment they stopped being just a great hardcore band and started to become a rock band. And if Time and Space was the hint, 2021's Glow On was the explosion. This was the album that changed absolutely everything. Glow On was a massive leap, blending their hardcore foundations with dream pop, psychedelia, and even Latin-inspired grooves. All of a sudden, this band from the hardcore scene was getting universal praise from critics and multiple Grammy nominations. Songs like Mystery and Blackout became anthems for a whole new wave of fans, a lot of whom had never listened to hardcore. Turnstile became a gateway, making a tough, inaccessible genre feel approachable without watering it down. While this brought in a huge new audience, it was also the point where some of the OG fans started to feel a disconnect. The sound was bigger, way more polished, and for some, just not as raw. The whole debate around Glow On is fascinating because it splits the fan base right down the middle. So what do you think? And this brings us to their fourth album, Never Enough. This record finds the band, now with their new guitarist Meg Mills, going even further down that experimental path of Glow On. The opening track kicks off with sparkling synths and a cello feature from Dev Hynes of Blood Orange. Across the album, you're hit with shoegaze textures, funky grooves, and hooks that sound like they could have been pulled from an 80s record. For mainstream critics, this album was a masterpiece, a modern classic. But inside the hardcore scene, the reaction has been, well, mixed. For some of the purists, it's a step too far. A watered-down copy of Glow On that feels too mainstream for hardcore. The argument is that in chasing the bigger sound, they've sounded down the rough, unpredictable edge that made them special. But at the same time, the album still has these ferocious tracks that are 100% ready for the pit, proving that the fire is still there. So, has Turnstile lost its edge? No. They've just redefined it. The edge they had in the past was about raw, unfiltered aggression. The edge they have now is about being completely fearless with their art. They've proved that a band can come out of the hardcore scene and evolve without betraying its core values of challenging the norm and building a community. By pushing their sound to its absolute limit, Turnstile has carved out a totally unique identity and in the process became one of the most important brand ambassadors of modern hardcore. They're bringing more eyes and ears to the scene than ever and keeping it alive for a new generation. They didn't sell out. They grew up. And by doing that, they've shown that the sharpest edge of them all is the one that never stops moving forward. So you've made it this far in the video. just give it a like. It helps make the video more visible to other people. And if you like the content, just go ahead and subscribe already.